Welcome to Silicon Valley Impact, where business insight meets startup innovation. Brought to you live from the podcast studio in Los Gatos, California. Please give a warm welcome to your host, Brian Sparks!
Yes, thank you, Brian. That's good. I love it.
Lou doesn't have headphones on, so all she hears is me screaming.
I know.
No, I love it. It reminds me of the, Golden State Warriors. So.
I know. I tell Brian.
Your step carry, essentially.
Yeah. There's a little extra when there's music behind it and applause and everything. But,
no, I love it.
Yeah. I'm waiting for us to for Amazon to send over the sparklers and the T-shirt gun and all that stuff.
I want a T-shirt gun, and I just start blasting it in this in our little studio here.
Silicon Valley Impact. Take that with you, pow. All right. Welcome to Silicon Valley Impact, everybody. I'm your host, Brian Sparks. The purpose of this show is to have honest conversations about what it takes to build great businesses and communities so that you can make an impact in your own. All right. With that being said, we often bring rock stars into the studio and have these insightful conversations, and make no mistake about it, we have two here with us today, Ben and Lu. I'm so excited for you guys to be here. I've known you both for a while. Lu, you've got a great story. Ben, great insight. And for our audience, you are going to get it all today. So with that being said, Lu, Ben, welcome. Good to see you both. Lu?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Brian.
Yeah, Ben. Yeah, Ben, you and I go back a few years and been buddies for a while. So I'm super excited to have you here and just to geek out on all the stuff that you know, and for our audience to hear what you both have to say. So thanks for being here. Without getting too far into the conversation right now, I'm going to let you guys do a quick little intro the way we do it here on Silicon Valley Impact so that our audience can get to know you really quick. So Lu, I'll give you the mic first to kick us off. Give us a little intro.
Yeah, thank you. So, hello everyone, very glad to be here. So, I run a VC firm called the Fusion Fund. I started from back in 2015. So, this year is essentially our 10-year anniversary. Yeah, hard to imagine it's already 10 years.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, we've been investing across the United States for early stage startup, mainly focused on three very nerdy vertical. Enterprise AI, we've been investing in AI when it was called machine learning, and also healthcare. And the last one is industry automation. So, all the company we're investing are very technology savvy, doing business model, B2B business model, and we put in capital in the seed, pre-seed, Series A to support company grow from early stage to growth stage and eventually exit. So we have over 92 portfolio company across the United States right now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a very big portfolio. I'm very proud of our founder.
And this is your first fund?
No, we're in Fund 4 already.
Fund 4 since 2015.
Yes. Fund 1, 2, 3, 4. We're investing out of our latest Fund 4, which is a $190 million fund. The total AUM is a little bit over $500 million now.
Lu Zhang, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, Fusion Fund. Congratulations.
Thank you. And also, before I became a venture capitalist, I was an entrepreneur initially. And before that, I was a nerdy material scientist at Stanford. So my founder friends always joke about, Lu, you went to the dark side. I'm like, don't say so. I still
you can always come back.
Yeah, you can.
No, I'm like, don't call me shark, because shark is not very smart. If you think I'm going to be a predator, I'd rather to be a dolphin. So I'm a dolphin VC.
I love
supporting founder as a closed community.
Yeah, I love how you wear the label nerdy. You said like 3 times in your intro. I love wearing the label now messy. I like to play the game messy. I'm a recovering perfectionist, but I love that how you own that. So we'll talk more about that journey, which is incredible. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We'll dive into that in a minute. But Ben, good to see you.
Yeah, man, great to be here.
Yeah. So for those who don't know you and our audience, give a quick little intro about yourself.
Sure. So I'm Ben Kromnick. I lead the healthcare and life sciences business for Mercury, the banking platform, really focused on startups and now really expanding much more broadly across entrepreneurship generally. And I was talking to you earlier before the show that I have this really incredible job now that is this intersection of my background as a founder, having built a couple of machine learning companies before they were called AI companies, being an operator at really large technology businesses, and being an investor investor in the pre-seed and seed stage. So now I get to bring all of that experience, founder, operator, investor, to work every single day when I talk to my founders. I have a huge portfolio of healthcare businesses that range from, ideation stage. These are PhDs, nerdy, maybe material scientists, maybe at Stanford, who are trying to figure out what they're going to do with that PhD research and are they going to go make a company out of it?
Yeah.
All the way up through Series C, D, later stage businesses who are in the massive scale maturity phase, and bringing my expertise to them as well. Oftentimes even thinking about how do you rejuvenate that innovation at the later stages, or birth that innovation at the very earliest stages. And so I get to sit with my founders and I get to help them solve their problems. And the one thing I have always found throughout my career has been I am in my genius zone when I am sitting next to a visionary and thinking about what their vision is, and then getting really creative and looking across my community, my network, my set of expertise and knowledge to help them solve their problems. I find that's where I am most effective. And now at Mercury, I get to do it every day.
I love that, because what I'm hearing when you say that is that you're an empathetic person. And so someone shares with you a vision, you step inside of that with them, understand it very well. And I believe that's really what empathy is really stepping inside somebody's experience, understanding it. Well, then sympathy is giving them what they need, but you understand it and you immediately start creatively looking at the bigger picture. And I think that's what's unique about what you're creating in terms of your network and your connectivity and how you've grown over the years. And so excited that you're here to unpack that. I don't know where this is going to go with both of you here. I may just hand the mics to you and let you talk machine learning for the next hour.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah. So, but let's start to walk up to this, because obviously both of you have done really well. And Ben, correct me if I'm wrong. I heard you say you had your own fund. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So both of you are managing funds. Just want our audience to hear that clearly. So both of you doing a lot. Let's go back in time a little bit. And Lou, I want to start with you, and then Ben, I'll kind of pivot to you as well. You've got a very successful fund. Fusion Fund is doing great. You've really landed, got your momentum going. But how did you get here? How did it all begin for you? And think of it from the perspective of, why do you love doing what you're doing? So I'll let you kind of step in there, and I'd love to hear how you become you today.
Yeah. So, first, nothing is within the plan. So that's also the part that really fascinating about life. When you look back, you found all the dots connected. But when you were younger, you didn't expect what is going to happen in the near future. So I grew up in a place called Inner Mongolian. So most of people probably never been, but if you're thinking about really authentic destination for your vacation, Mongolia is such a beautiful place.
Yeah.
So really put it on your to-do list. So I grew up there, and when I was little, I was dreaming about building a space elevator. And in order to build a space elevator, you need to have the hardest material possible on the Earth, which turns out to be
a space elevator.
Space elevator. When I was
that.
like 8 years old, and I saw on this science fiction magazine that you need to use the carbon nanotube to do it. That's kind of eventually impact me to choose the major material science as my major. So when I was 20 years old, that was back in 2010, I came to the United States. Also because I want to pursue technology innovation. And of course, here is the center of the tech innovation. So I went to Stanford, was doing my PhD study. That's when I started my journey in this so-called startup ecosystem, because Stanford have such an amazing community, not only focus on research. Professor, PhD student got a really good channel to talk to venture capitalists, industry leader. So I benefit from it and became an entrepreneur when I was 21. I was material science background, but my technology had application for healthcare. Early diagnostic of type 2 diabetes. That's how I also be able to really learn my own way out about challenge opportunity within the healthcare domain, launch my company. So after I sold my company, naturally thought about next step, potentially do another company. How about just leverage other deep tech I was working on. During that time, I was also, I sold my company, got a good financial return, how I support other founder like me, really passionate about tech innovation. That's when I started a journey as an investor. So my motivation for investing was really just to supporting other good founder. Gradually, build up a strong community, methodology, eventually I founded Fusion Fund in 2015. I like the experienced that because, Mongolian were like very aggressive fighting the battle. I always got challenged. When I was a founder, people were like, oh, never saw such a young 21 years old immigrant. You want to do a healthcare company in the United States with machine learning. This is the most hardest, complicated industry. I'm like, love to take the challenge. When I started Fusion Fund in 2015, also I got journalists reach out to me. Never saw someone with your background be able to launch their own fund. You'll be the first one. I'm like, bingo. I love to be the first one.
Yeah, so you love the challenge.
I love the challenge. I love to take the challenge, fight a battle.
Yeah.
And the fundamental motivation is really because the passion.
Yeah.
Go back to, what I mentioned when I was 8 years old. I really wanted to leverage technology innovation to change the world for better course. Initially, I thought, okay, become a professor.
Yeah.
Researcher, scientist, I could do it. Later, I found, okay, near-term innovation can be done by a startup company. Yeah. And eventually, I found early-stage venture I think it's the best job for me in terms of what I pursue. I'd be able to leverage capital, community resources to supporting so many extraordinary founders. And they're a dreamer, they're actually a doer, they really want to change the world for a better course. And I was able to support them along the way and be able to learn so many new things, passionate about it, and also be part of something great in a very efficient way.
So I'm hearing a couple of things, and I want to point out for our audience these character qualities. If you're looking to nurture them in yourself, and you had very early on in your life, you were a dreamer.
Yeah, I'm a dreamer.
You're a dreamer, and I think that's amazing. A lot of entrepreneurs are a dreamer, and then you surrounded yourself with the right resources. You positioned yourself. I mean, you flew halfway around the world to position yourself to have resources, and then you started to build. And I think that's amazing. So and of course, Ben, you're talking about the power of empathy earlier, and like really understanding what people need. If your company isn't succeeding, chances are you don't know what your market needs. So I love that insight that you have, and great stuff. So Ben, I want to kind of pivot to you. I mean, Lu's got an amazing story. What was kind of your run up to falling in love with startup? Because you've really immersed yourself in different experiences to understand the whole tapestry of the startup ecosystem.
Yeah.
What was your beginnings?
So I'll go right back to what Lu was talking about. This idea of learning on your own in order to achieve empathy. Mm-hmm. And I actually go back to my childhood, where I spent a lot of time at work with my father, which meant being in a warehouse. It meant being in an office. It meant like putting my hands on all these different types of problems, because he did every single role in his industry until eventually becoming a leader of organizations. What I always found really fun about that was if the warehouse team comes up and says, hey, we've got a problem, we can't do this inventory. He's like, oh, no, you can. You just got to change like these 8 things you're doing with these sorts of problems. I know because I've been in your seat. Mm-hmm. And that allowed him to be an extremely effective leader. And then when I was growing up, I got into technology sort of backwards. I was studying history and philosophy. I probably wanted to go work in government or work in politics, and I needed a job. So I was able to kind of hack my way into a tech internship. I was going to school here at UC Santa Cruz, just over the hill from Los Gatos, where we are. And while I was there, I got the opportunity to be a product manager, which is an incredible role. I got to build some really, really cool products. But every time I got to build a new product, I'd bump into a thing that I had no idea about. It started out with like, okay, I'm going to build some software product. I got to work with the computer engineering team. Well, they're talking an entirely different language from me. So do I go put a wall up, or do I kind of step into their experience? Mm-hmm. And do I go learn? And so I became as technical as possible a product manager in software. Then I started building hardware. Became as technical as possible a product manager in hardware. I then got exposed to machine learning. And I saw sort of the longer term pathway for where our economy and where our technologies are going. Okay, like that's something I want to step into. And I wasn't able to do it at my first role, so I went and got another role where I could be as deep in machine learning as possible with my own limitations. I'm not a technical resource. I don't want to write code. I don't want to build hardware, but I want to know as much as I possibly can about it. And so I applied that same philosophy as kind of became an expert in product management. But then I saw it, take another step back, and I got to see, well, where does product management fit in entrepreneurship? Where does it fit in fundamentally like creating the world that we want to see? You want to see a space elevator or, improve diagnostics of type 2 diabetes, which I certainly share that same vision. What did I want to see in the world? And I wasn't really quite sure yet what like the thing was that I was going to grab onto, but I knew I needed to be deeper in machine learning. And so I joined Deloitte's machine learning and artificial intelligence team. We called it the cognitive technologies team. And we were deeply embedded in the insurance industry. I got exceedingly technical and deep in healthcare payer data. Never wanted to be deep in healthcare payer data, but I kind of kept following these problems in these domains. And I followed them into entrepreneurship. I ended up building my first company, which is an electronic health record system for pediatric behavioral healthcare, primarily focused on ADD, ADHD, and autism spectrum disorder. And then I learned about entrepreneurship because I kept talking about startups from the outside. Like, well, no, kind of, again, step into that domain, achieve that. And then I did a couple of really pretty successful healthcare startups with Deep 6 AI and Verana Health. And I kept finding there was this distinction between the experiences I had at those companies, that the variable that was different was funding. So I didn't understand the capital side of that business yet. So I just kind of kept following these threads. Like you said, it wasn't my plan from the beginning of, okay, well, I'm going to get empathy by doing job A, B, C, and D, then change from domain A to domain B, and then do job A, B, and C. I just kind of kept pulling that thread. And I got to this point where I eventually did help to start a venture fund to focus on pre-seed and seed. With pretty broad thesis. It now runs a handful of accelerator programs and direct investment programs, along with technology sort of scouting and innovation for large corporates. But that achievement, that new, I guess, methodology we developed brought me to where I am now, where I get to bring all of those different steps along the way. Now I get to sit next to those visionaries with holding empathy for every part of their business and really just trying to be an effective problem solver for them. Yeah. Which is really where like, that's my genius zone. That's where I am most effective, is when I can really bring that broad set of expertise and the network I built along the way really is a focus in healthcare. That makes me be great at what I do now. And it's so much fun.
Well, what I hear in both of you is that you've had this drive, this curiosity, surrounded by resources, and you're always looking kind of like, well, there's more to this. A lot of people, I mean, at any point you could have said, Lou, well, I'm just going to stay with being professor. That's what I was going to do, right? Or I'm going to stay with machine learning. And that's what a lot of people do. They like get confidence in a particular area, and then they drill themselves a silo. And what I'm hearing from both of you, and Ben, your progression from working with your dad on up to where you are now, there's this like, no, there's another piece to this. And you've both now developed this incredible vision of the startup ecosystem that allows you to connect the dots and play the game strategically. And it's no wonder you've both done so well. So how does somebody, because I think a big problem in Silicon Valley is that people get stuck in their silos. They're a technical founder. There's a term for it, right? There's a technical, and that's saying you're in a silo. How does somebody come out of that? Or how does somebody start to kind of groom themselves to like thinking, I got to see a bigger picture and become curious and start to learn? I'm fascinated by that. And I know as an entrepreneur who may be listening, or a VC who needs to raise and look for the resources, how do we start thinking from a strategic perspective within our own thinking? Was that deep? Did I kind of like, whoa, this is
so deep.
Yeah.
Well, I'll reply. I'll kind of like give a response. If you're willing to be wrong, and maybe even be wrong a lot, every time I like took a jump to a new role or a new domain, you just like come in naive.
Yeah.
And that's really, really uncomfortable for almost everybody.
Yeah.
And usually I find like that's when I have this like big kooky smile on my face, because I'm like, oh, I don't know anything about anything, but like I'm just gonna start learning. And I find when you approach a problem that way, you go up to an expert in that field saying, I don't know anything about anything, but I have an angle. I have there's a reason I'm here. There's a mission, there's capital, there's a business behind me to go push into X. What don't I know yet?
Yeah.
How am I getting this wrong? And having the guts to put yourself in that position and to also take a position to say, coming in naively, I think it looks like this. You're the expert. What did I get? What did I miss here?
Yeah.
And having that, the humility and really the control of your own ego to step into that space where you're going to be wrong a lot. That I find is that's the most personal, hard part about getting there.
There's power in contrast. And I hear this in your story too, Lou, where you said that a reporter came to you and said, well, there's nobody like you doing this. And you go, I'm going to change that. Right. And so, well, you go from nobody, quote unquote, like you is doing this to, well, I'm going to be that person. And Ben, you're saying, well, here's what I know. Here's what I don't know. I'm going to be in that space. So Lou, from your perspective, when you moved to the US, when you were the first in an industry, when you were in a world where you didn't have resources, what were kind of the things going through your mind to become resourceful and curious in order to grow?
Yeah, so you already mentioned the word with the curiosity. I think curiosity is number one important personality to have in order to expand your own horizon and build up I would say, very diverse community, have different people surrounding you. Because essentially, yes, we can learn a lot of stuff by reading, by watching, but the most efficient way to learn is actually from the people. Whether you're open-minded, be able to get to know people from different background, different culture, doing different things. I think the fundamental drive is really curiosity. Are you curious about something different from this world? And people are doing different things, and the future will be really out of your imagination because you didn't have the knowledge about this founder out, this innovator, what they're doing. So I think what also Ben mentioned about it as well, I think curiosity is really number one thing. Another thing is really, I think, be open-minded in terms of also not only we talk about stereotype, and also don't be judgmental. I think for here, the beauty of entrepreneurship is okay, you see a founder, 5 of them coming together, build a company. Not necessarily it's because they're from the same country, same culture. They really fully understand each other's fundamental systems, etc. It's mainly because 5 of them all want to solve the same major problem. They found it so fascinating. This is one of the biggest challenge right now in industry. I'm so passionate about solving it. We came from different background, not a problem at all. We're complementary to each other. You know something I didn't know. I sometimes also talk about, because I'm an immigrant, and I also really value global perspective. All this different perspective can come together. That's how innovation can happen. Yeah. That's the playbook here in Silicon Valley. So that's another thing, like another extra layer of be open-minded.
Wait, I saw you I told you I was going to double click on the things that make you smile. And you smiled when you said innovation, like putting 2 things together that maybe don't make sense but come together for innovation. You lit up.
Yeah, I love it because if you look at innovation right now, lots of them are interdiscipline. It's not like, okay, you're doing a healthcare that's purely traditional healthcare. It's about AI in healthcare. Tons of healthcare data, how to leverage the data. AI is a super powerful tool. You're building a space tech company, but the space tech company might leverage in the digital platform, edge computing, to empower the satellite to become edge devices. There are lots of innovation are happening about the interdiscipline. Even we talk about physical AI, robotics. That's also different from the traditional definition. That's when you see a very clear result of when you're open-minded, bring people from different country, different culture, different perspective, innovation happen more efficiently.
Yeah. So I want to give a really fun example of the intersection that can happen between you bring 2 different disciplines together, 2 different domains together, but also when you step away from stereotyping.
Yeah.
How effective it can be to helping you, reduce the barriers of innovation. Yeah. So I was the head of product at a company called Deep6 AI, and Deep6 is an incredible technology business. The men who built that product were really spectacular. What was really fascinating about it was that we took a content management technology and strategy from Tinder and applied it to a deep learning algorithm that was specialized for EHR, healthcare text data. And one without the other would not have been as valuable. So you had the ability to read medical language in a way that was far more advanced than anything else was on the market. But how it read it created this gigantic search index that we would not be able to really search and call back valuable information from without Tinder's content management strategy.
Yeah.
The application of the two allowed us to dramatically reduce the workload required to identify patients that qualified for clinical trials. One without the other would not have been nearly as effective because we had both domains from consumer dating at USC in Los Angeles, where Tinder was practically built, next door to us in Pasadena, where we were doing machine learning research on clinical data, on clinical text. The application of both of them together was what made it so attractive for now some of the largest health systems in the world to adopt that technology.
Yeah. And again, I love how you lit up as well around this innovation. And is that what really drives for both of you, your love of what you're doing now? Is it the innovation that's happening?
Yeah. I think we're in a great time. In this business, sometimes I joke about I'm a big believer of luck. How to be lucky is really making choice to be at the right place at the right time, mingle with the right people. Silicon Valley is the right place for innovation. Now it's a terrific time for innovation trend. We just get started with AI. It's just only the starting point of AI innovation powered the whole industry digital transformation. So it's happening already. And we're mingle with the right people, including what you mentioned, be able to mingle with people from different background instead of stay siloed, but also open-minded to different idea. That's how innovation happen together. For me, selfishly, the reason I love what I'm doing, my team always really found it fascinating because I don't drink coffee. They're like, how do you stay alert and awake in the morning?
You would not have survived at Deep Six.
Yes, and I'm like, I probably just had a 7 a.m., 8 a.m. call, screening meeting with one of the fascinating founder I'm talking to and got excited for the whole day. That's how I get my energy.
Yeah, you did say that in our call the other day.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. I also really believe that doing what I'm doing right now, I essentially getting smarter every single day. When I fall asleep, I know I'm getting smarter compared with when I woke up this morning.
I love that. So let's drill down a little bit on Fusion Fund. Let's talk about, you went from a startup to curiosity about angel investing, and Ben, this may have been your path too because you were involved with this as well. Angel investing to building a fund. Talk about those inflection points in your life and what that experience was like, going from entrepreneur, angel investor, if that's what you were for a short period of time, to Fusion Fund.
Yeah.
Talk about that journey.
Yeah, I briefly mentioned that initially I never thought about doing investment. When I was an entrepreneur running my own company, I didn't have a very smooth fundraising process because my profile doesn't help investor check the box. That was also more than 10 years ago. Machine learning, healthcare, deep tech, none of it are buzzword. So it was not easy. So I didn't really have the most pleasant experience with VC, so I never thought about becoming a venture capitalist. So after I sold my company, my main motivation was I want to support other founder like me. They're solving the hard problem. They're super intelligent and they also are making great progress. Just need some funding support and also experience support. So I think my engagement with founder as an angel investor per se really made me start to realize there's much more I can do. Leverage my own experience. I always talk about it's a miserable life when you're an entrepreneur and you have to suffer so much. It's a very vulnerable process from the seed, pre-seed, Series A, and also helping founder understand how to really optimize the result with limited capital, limited resources, and also preserve their own ownership. So many things I were able to provide. That's when I start thinking about I can do more. Because it's not only just helping founder.
More in terms of starting your own fund.
No, at that time it's investing more. Okay. Initially only couple. Yeah. And I invest in total eventually 12 company. Investing more in terms of, I think not only I'm helping them, I'm actually helping them eventually shaping the industry. It's like you're supporting and influence the future leader.
Yeah.
And so that's when I start to think about, okay, how to do it in an even bigger platform.
So real quick, I can hear 1,000 voices right now who are founders saying to me in our audience, wait, go back to the overcoming the investment part because you weren't checking the boxes.
No.
So really quick, and then we'll leap back to where we were. So but I heard you say that there was challenges for you.
It was challenges.
How did you overcome those?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, that was more than 10 years ago. And if you guys remember at that time, the buzzword was a business model innovation, was consumer tech, was dating app, was Airbnb, Uber type of the business. So Doing a healthcare company, talk about machine learning, data science, not necessarily is the most trendy word. So for me at the time, I still be able to fund investor after hundreds of meetings, fund investor who supported me, but limited capital. So meanwhile, I'm thinking about how to survive. Very practical questions. In order to survive, I need to think about other way to support my market validation and go to market. So I start to talk with large corporate for partnership to get some early revenue, leverage the partnership for co-distribution. So that part really helped me be able to survive and eventually make a successful business. So I think came back when I start becoming an investor, I also talked to founder, yes, venture capital is important, but essentially this capital should serve as a catalyst, which means without it, you're going to be successful.
Yeah.
But VC going to help you successful much faster.
So just real quick, I see, Ben, you're shaking your head. There's a lot of agreement there. And essentially you're sitting in that seat that she's speaking about. When we come back, I want to pick up the conversation about, how you're building out the Fusion Fund now. And then Ben, you're over there chomping at the bit because you're experiencing similar things. So we'll tap into that as soon as we come back. And Brian, I think we're ready to go to a break. All right, we're back with Ben and Lu. And before we get back into our conversation, once again, I can't help to thank Witham, Salesbricks, and Skedaddle enough for being sponsors of the show. Really appreciate all your support for having our backs and allowing us to do these great programs. Again, we're here with Ben and Lu. And Lu, before we went to break, you were talking a little bit about building out Fusion Fund. You were talking about the hurdles that you had to overcome in terms of raising yourself. Again, all of the founders who are out there listening right now, they want to know how to overcome. You talked about thinking outside the box a little bit in terms of corporate support. Again, thinking outside the box and that ability to move outside your silo has kind of been a theme that we've been talking about today. But let's leap towards building the Fusion Fund. And it wasn't lost on me either, Ben, that you were over there shaking your head. So we're going to come to you in a minute about your perspective on this. But talk about the build, the transition from investing to helping others, bringing resources, and doing more. You've now decided to become a fund. What was that first experience like?
Yeah, of course. When I was doing angel investing, yes, I was supporting founder, but I found it's not very institutionalized. And we discussed a little bit about there are so many things that founder could get support in this really early vulnerable stage. How to make it more like a structural support and it gives them system support, institutionalized support. That's the thing you can potentially build out with a VC platform versus just doing the angel investing. Of course, angel investing is more free. It's your own money instead of taking institutional investors' money. So that's kind of my motivation to build a Fusion Fund. We also want to be a different fund. We want to become top-tier VC, but also we don't want to become another existing top-tier VC. We want to be different. We want to really understand what is critical in the early stage of the startup and also help them truly be the catalyst, accelerate the process. Go back to my personal journey you mentioned about my journey in terms of important to build up early partnership, getting market validation. We know that is important to founders, so we build our own CXO network with a collection of 45 CTO from Global 1000 company. So when founder take out capital, it's not only capital. They can also directly talk to the decision maker of the potential customer they want to sell to. This is not only revenue and cash flow, it's also market validation to showcase their solution is solving a real problem. It's something industry really need. People are willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
So go beyond there. Also, when I was a founder, I hate micromanagement. I mentioned that I was 21. So I, of course, got investor coming, want to really help me run the company. And I personally know good founder hate that. They want you to become the go-to person instead of coming to be the captain. So that's also our approach when we're supporting founder. They're the captain. They make a final call, but we really give them resources. When they come to us, we made an introduction, giving the feedback, providing training material, essentially give them flexibility to make small mistakes, but learn and grow from there, eventually become a really high qualified leader. That's how we work with them.
I can't help but really drill down on that for our founder listeners. Yeah. There's a big difference in what Fusion Fund provides and some, we'll just call it some other VC, no names. But when you're a founder, you really also need to understand you have interviewing power as well.
Exactly.
You're not just chasing, like, all money isn't good money. You want to be partnered with somebody like the Fusion Fund that has resources to help position you for success.
I even want to tackle on that. I don't want to call it good or bad. I want to call it matchmaking. It's like dating. It's about what you're looking for the long-term partner. If you need to think about if you have this investor going to sit on your board, going to be at least a 10-year journey.
Yeah.
That's very serious relationship. So think about what you need. Some founder probably think that, okay, I'm first-time founder. I want someone to kind of like a babysitter holding my hand along the way. No problem. There's VC can do that as well. There's also other founder. They're very clear, committed, what they want to build. They have clear conviction and the vision, and they want to find people help them accelerating their dream.
Yeah.
Then they're the type of founder we can work with. So it's about matchmaking.
Yeah.
There are so many different types of matches too. It's
Yeah.
not like there are some helpful funds and not helpful funds. There's all helpful in very different ways. I think even every VC now will say we are a value add VC. Fine. How do you add value is the most important part, and then really matching that to your founders. So there's a fund who I work with very closely who they are excellent at go-to-market help.
Yeah.
That is what they are truly great at. If you are like a product-led go-to-market company, they are a great fit for you. But if you've got that sorted pretty well, or that doesn't really fit your business model, but you're still within their thesis, their value add isn't as useful as somebody else who might come in and be really value added on the corporate governance side of things. So as a founder, really being like taking a step back, looking at yourself and your company and understanding how do I fit my company? Where am I great? And where do I actually need help? And then looking at your investors as a way to solve that problem. You could also solve it by going and getting advisors, going and getting angel investors or corporate partners who can de-risk the business in lots of different ways. Something I talk to my founders about all the time is every stage has its own milestones.
Yeah.
You should be shooting towards. And if you need to de-risk go-to-market between your current stage and your next stage, if your fund at that current stage can de-risk your go-to-market for the next one, great. You just accelerated yourself into your next stage. Maybe they don't do that. Okay, well, fine. Go find a corporate partner who's going to solve a distribution problem for you, or go find an angel investor who is a super senior sales executive in that industry who's going to go solve go-to-market for you. So there's a lot of different ways to de-risk it.
Yeah.
And I want to double click on something you said as well, which is be the go-to, not the captain as an advisor. I'm going to be saying that to myself in my own head all the time now, because I advise a lot of startups, and it is always so hard as an advisor especially if you're an action-oriented advisor, especially if you're still an operator, you want to get your hands on things. And I know for me, like being just curious and energetic, working on things I love, it's really easy to try to be the captain. And I think knowing when is it the time to be the go-to or time to be the captain is such a challenging thing as an advisor. I think maybe we should all be asking ourselves that question pretty often. But also identifying when someone needs to be the captain.
Exactly.
And if they need to be it, then it might not be a fit.
Yeah, to add on to that, another thing is we talk about matchmaking, but also there's even better solution that probably founder said, I need all different type of support. No problem. You just get different type of investor. You don't get only one investor on your cap table for one single round. You could get different type of investor. There are some institutional VC providing different value add-on. You also can get angel investor with potentially become your personal advisor, mentor. You could also set up different structure of the board in order to get different kind of support. So really looking at working with capital provider from a company building perspective instead of purely I just need some cash flow runway.
Oh, that's so good. And for those of you listening right now, go ahead and roll that back and listen to how Ben and Lu is really setting you up on how to look at the big picture. I think that's what's unique about having you both here is never losing sight of the big picture. Because I think a lot, I mean, not just being in a silo, but getting obsessed as a founder can be a big downfall. Like you've got to wear multiple hats and pivot. And Ben, you were talking about this, about connecting the dots. You've often mentioned that really what you think is valuable is building community and seeing where those resources are and how it connects. Unpack that a little bit for our listeners and why they should be putting so much or a portion of their energy into building community.
Yeah. So I'll pair that with a little bit of your obsessive comment.
Yeah.
Because I think every good founder is obsessive. You have to be deeply obsessed with your problem that you're solving, because it's hard and vulnerable and scary. If you're not obsessed with that problem you're trying to solve, you very likely are not going to make it through all those hard, scary parts. That obsession, that love with that problem is oftentimes a thing that keeps you going. But being able to go really deep in something, it inherently narrows your vision, which is okay, because you're trying to solve this big, hard, deep problem. And based on the stage of your company, you're going to have to be obsessed with certain things.
Right.
If you don't have the ability to quickly pick your head up and look at the capital markets, or look at the regulatory markets, or look at social trends, or look at new trends in go-to-market, or like all these other things that are not what you're deeply obsessed with right now, it gets really challenging to run the business in a holistically successful way long-term. If you have a community of people who are those go-tos for all of those things that kind of sit around you as a person and you as a business, now it gets way easier to jump outside of your silo. Because I'm obsessed with my problem where I am right now. I am deeply focused on selling this niche product to this niche market right now, because this is my toehold market. It's where I'm going to start. You have to be obsessed there. But if you can't really quickly hop to the next couple of them and develop the product in the long-term fashion there, that's going to be really challenging to stay successful long-term. But if you have a community around you who you can do your deeply obsessive days, and you can go get dinner with them, or you can go to a happy hour with them, or you can go on a hike with them, or go meditate with them, or whatever, or kite surf, whatever the heck you want to do. Now you've got somebody who isn't obsessed with where you are.
Yeah.
They've got their own obsession.
Yeah.
And they have people who are also only obsessed with their thing. And being able to quickly adapt their expertise and their know-how and their knowledge has been so powerful. And for me, I thought of it as one of the favorite things I studied in college was network theory, specifically around how political ideas spread. And a lot of us know it from like the tipping point with Malcolm Gladwell, but fundamentally that there are super connecting nodes around us. And I always thought of my community in this like kind of network theory philosophy, where it's really hard to maintain strong relationships with a lot of people. Just fundamentally, we don't have the energy, we don't have the time to really do it. So who you invest in can be really important. And from a professional standpoint, there's like real tangible ways to analyze those relationships. And being able to go, this is my person for if I want to know anything about cancer, or I don't know anything about diabetes, or anything about the regulatory environment, or anything about university development. Having a person or two people who then you can say, hey, you know what? I need to meet everybody you know. I'm going deep over here.
Yeah.
Do the intros. Well, they've got 5, 10, 15 people who they're going to deep dive it with you. But now you don't have to maintain all those additional relationships over time, because it's impossible to keep that many deep relationships.
Yeah.
So I really think about, as a founder, like, what are the strategic places you need to have connection into? Because you're obsessed with your space right now, but there's other adjacencies around you that you need to go be able to turn on and really do it with somebody who is committed to you, someone who knows you, might be an investor, might be a partner. I find it to be a rapid way of accelerating the business, because you don't have to go now develop all those networks.
Yeah,
exactly.
To kind of pair it with what you were mentioning earlier about the difference between go-to and
Be the captain.
being the captain.
Yeah.
You need your go-to people
Yeah.
without giving up you can't give up ownership.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I'm not talking ownership of the company, but ownership of the vision. But you have to have your go-to. But it works the same way. If someone is the captain of their ship, then, okay, my role now is I'm their go-to and building authority in that space. How have you both kind of built? I mean, we've talked about your success. We've talked about building community. We've talked about your experience. But how does a founder or somebody who's looking to enter the market, as you guys have, how do you build your authority other than what you do, right? Because I can just say, Ben, fund, you have a fund, and you're with Mercury, and we can provide those labels. Same thing, Lou, Fusion Fund, that's it. But aside from what you do, how does someone build their authority in their space that's respectable so that you become the go-to?
Yeah. I think it's very important to believe in the power of connecting and also sharing. Yes, sometimes your questions about besides what you do, but what you're doing is essentially the first thing. You are able to share the knowledge with others. And lots of people, they're kind of reserved with their own knowledge and try to hear what you're going to share with me, then I will take it from there. No, if you believe in something, you have a unique insight, you have some deep analysis about a certain industry, start to share your knowledge. That will attract people who also have curiosity, learning about you, start conversation with you, and in return, they may start to sharing their life, their knowledge, and also what they're building with you. I think believing in the power of connecting and also sharing is very important. Yeah. The second thing is the quality of the community is very important. So as a VC business, it's a people business. Of course, Ben also mentioned it's important to build up community surrounding you. But go back to a very nerdy analogy, it's like training AI model with data. High quality data will enable you to train a smaller size model. If you don't control the quality of the data, your model need to be huge. But go back to what Ben mentioned earlier on, how do you manage such a huge community? No way, right? So also focus on the quality of the community you want to build surrounding you. So I sometimes simply summarize. I'm not the best person to summarize this, but I summarize there are three types of people probably in your network. One is a giver, one is taker, one is connector. First, we all want to be a giver and a connector. Giver means you're open to share. You want to offer help, offer support, offer knowledge. And you want to be a connector. If you saw some strong synergy between Brian and Ben, I want to make them happen. I think there will be some great things happen when I connect two people with a strong synergy. Then you also want to make sure you're surrounding people who are giver and connector. So that's a simple way to filter out the quality of the initial people you're meeting with and talk with. You'll probably talk to someone who are super smart, but he's not a giver. He don't want to share. He or she don't want to share. They don't want to offer introduction. Then eventually you'll continue giving that. So building that closed, I would say, mutual benefit community with high quality is very important. Another thing is you want to have a strong stand, things you believe. For example, I'm just have such a strong conviction of I want to build a space elevator. I just have such a long-term vision that I believe AI in healthcare is the future of the innovation. If you have something very strong, you start to kind of label yourself as a potential go-to person for people you are working with you and talking with you. They're like, oh, Brian just mentioned to me about space innovation. I know this lady. She's obsessed with space elevator. Yeah. And I should check with her and potentially make the introduction. So I think that's another thing. You want to have something you're truly passionate about and share with people. And the last thing I do want to share, one of my friends, Case, he's a very popular, very famous coach, leader, and also bestseller author. He had a book called Never Eat Alone. That's a really good book. I highly recommend for a founder want to think about how to build a community. I came to this country knowing nobody. I came to this country by myself. My parents is now in the United States. I went to Stanford knowing nobody. But till now, we have a very strong community with Infusion Fund. We have the CXO network, as you mentioned, with Fortune 500 CTO. We have Expert Network with a group of industry leaders on AI. We also have Super Founder Network with over 62 repeating successful founder who sold the company for over $100 million. Wow. That's our years of accumulation. But once you have a core group of 10, 20 people, this is a network effect. As you mentioned, they're going to start referring people to the network because this is not only for them to talk with you, they're finding value with each other.
Yeah.
I want to think about authority because there are a lot of voices in a market.
Yeah.
Especially in big markets like healthcare. Right? Who you surround yourself with, I think, can make all the difference.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, I think if you're a founder who maybe you're coming out of university where you've spent the last 10 years in a lab or in a research facility, you don't have a network of thought leaders or like LinkedIn top voices who you can just like call on and just go put stuff out in the market. So how do you do that? And I find that oftentimes there are similarly focused organizations or institutions who act as these stamps of approval, who act as these authorities across certain industries. If you look at in cancer, you think about like the Cancer X organization or the American Cancer Society. In diabetes, you think of like the T1D Foundation, formerly JDRF, or the American Diabetes Association. Those organizations have programs that you can get into. They also have captured networks and communities of other people who are deeply passionate about that space. So I think that second point of, find those net promoters who are actually able to, establish authority, who their stamp, their association enables authority. But once you're there, you can't just be like, yes, we should cure cancer. Fine, we should totally do that. How? What's your stance? How do you believe you're going to make an impact on cancer care? How do you believe you're going to make an impact on diabetes? That stance and having that passion behind it, I think immediately changes how people perceive you. If you're there just like nodding your head in a room, yes, fine, great, thanks for participating. Please come back and support these businesses. But if you actually are saying, no, I think there's this specific angle that I believe in, I'm going to go try. Or that somebody else is doing right now, that's mine. I'm going to go support that thing. I'm going to go drive that thing home. Whatever it needs, I'm going to support it. Now people are going to say, well, look, like you might be right, you might be wrong, but you're trying. And I go back to a couple of different times over the last 10 years. There's been big data breaches, there's been big challenges in the application of big data and machine learning to the healthcare model. And every time it happens, there's someone comes out and says, we need better privacy, better protections, better security. Yes, we absolutely do. And we're going, like, there are entire industries just trying to fight to maintain privacy, to share data better, to analyze data in more privacy-centric ways and more human-centric ways. But it doesn't mean we're going to stop. And I remember I go back to the Roosevelt quote about the man in the arena. I would always rather be the person in the arena trying to solve the problem with the best tools we have. Yeah. And like things are going to go wrong. We're going to make mistakes all the time. But would you rather be the man in the arena or the critic sitting on the sideline talking about it? Yeah. And I think when it comes to authority, the critics on the sideline never have the same amount of authority as the man in the arena who has been trying to solve that problem. Yeah. And I think that's what, like you talked about that from the beginning, right? It's just you believe in a problem, you're going to try to solve it, and you're going to bring that to all of your founders.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, let me kind of complete this conversation about the three-legged stool of the three people who really kind of make that you need to have in your network. It's the giver, the taker, the connector. I think we've talked about the importance of the giver and the connectors, right? But do you think there's an element to we'll call them the receiver, the taker, that's just important? Yeah. I think there's a crossover. Like I think if they're just a taker, that's a problem. Yeah. But however, we're actually looking for a founder, if we're going to invest in them, that not only is a giver, is a connector, but also can receive well. Mm-hmm. Like if they come to you and they say, hey, what do you think about this? You want it to land. You want it to be taken, not just like...
It's not taken. It's more about they're coachable. They're also, I would say, fast learner. And also identify very clearly about which part of the knowledge they need to learn. Mm-hmm. I think the very strong self-awareness, I would say so.
We need them. If there's only givers and connectors, we're just like gonna explode. So that energy has to go somewhere. Yeah. And it's why founders exist.
Yeah. No, I think what my definition is more about, you want to surround yourself with giver and connector, and you also be a giver connector. So become taker for each other. Yeah. So taker means like people only take, doesn't share. Yeah. But you want to, I think for founder, same thing. For founder, they need to get lots of support, but also they're supporting each other. Yeah. And also when they're sharing what they're doing, they're sharing knowledge already.
Yeah. And the reason I'm leading into that, because this I think is going to be very important to those who are going into startup, is now boundaries, structure, because there are those who are consumers of the startup ecosystem. They'll go to events after events and they're just consuming. Yeah. They're just taking, right? They're just taking in, but never then, okay, now I need to go do something. I need to connect these dots. Yeah. So how would you suggest that we kind of balance this? Okay, I need to give, I need to receive, I need to also connect. I mean, I'm making a distinction between what we need to develop in ourselves and those who are out there individually, right? But I'm kind of bringing this in-house.
So I live this experience a lot because at Mercury, we put a lot of support into the ecosystem to actually build these systems. Like these community systems, these ecosystems, they don't exist unless there's actual capital that goes into them. It's expensive to host these events. It's expensive to build these software platforms and to do the webinars and to do the virtual stuff and to do the retreats. So there needs to be a benefactor who is supporting that. And that is almost always large corporates. Where people go wrong with that is they come in as a large corporate and they're sponsoring an event and they fill it with salespeople. And they're there. Yeah, sure. They gave the money to support the thing, but now they're taking out of that ecosystem. So I think maybe the biggest group that is guilty of taking is not founders or like ecosystem participants who don't really know how to start a thing yet. It's like the people who go in just to sell, not to participate in a community and build those relationships. And it's one of the things going back to authority. Showing up in a community authentically and genuinely as yourself, that's all you need. That's all you need to give fundamentally to participate in an ecosystem is just be your authentic self when you're there because you're inherently like valid and valuable to be there.
Yeah.
And if you're showing up and you're curious and you're kind and you're authentic, you're a net positive in that ecosystem.
Yeah.
If you're showing up as a boiler room salesperson, you are not net positive.
I want to click on that just for a second. And I know, Lou, you have a comment on this, but I think that's where oftentimes service providers get a bad rap. I see the startup ecosystem from 3 buckets: investor, founder, service provider. They're so needed. But to your point, yes, deploying that skill, I think needs to be rethought a little bit, not just to, saturate a room with salespeople, but can we come at this from a relationship perspective? Because I love service providers. They fill in the gaps where founders may not, have knowledge. They provide insight. They provide tools. We need them. But I love that point. And so, Lou, I wanted to kind of look to you in terms of balancing this insight and bringing it full circle. What else does a founder need to kind of start to consider as they're building out their war chest? If they don't have skills in this area, what is kind of that first step, back to what Ben was talking about earlier? What is the practical first step for them to start, being resourceful as you have throughout your entire life?
Yeah, as I mentioned early on, the first is more doesn't mean better. So really just start to build up the high quality community, even smaller group, and then leverage the existing people you really trust. They also trust you. They start to refer people to you. That's a more effective way to build up the supportive community for a founder. And another thing is, of course, there's lots of events there. We host the Founder Happy Hour as well. And there are lots of other events hosting by banker and also different service provider in the ecosystem. There's a lot of value to go to events. But I think founder also need to think about, do you have a clear goal why you're going to this event? If your goal for this event is, I want to go there to meet as many people as possible, okay, that's a clear target. Go there, try to really meet as many people as possible, collecting business card, exchanging contact information, follow up from there. Or you're like, okay, I'm going to this event because I have specific questions I want to be answered. I want to talk to people with this industry. Then go there, also have the questions. Do you know who is in the events I should talk to the host, be able to have in-depth conversation, 30 minutes long, 20 minutes long with this dedicated person during the events. I also heard from a founder, he told me, I really like it. He told me he's not a very social open person, but he also want to build up a strong community. He's like, I just tell myself, my goal for myself, go to this events, I need to at least make 2 very high quality connection. Once I achieve that, I'm happy. I'm go back home. I'm working on the company. That's just what I learned. I'm like, that's really good. That's really align the expectation for yourself. Be efficient with your time because you also don't want to spend all your time just mingle between different events. The thing is, sometimes I saw founders just collecting business card, taking photo with each other. But if the other side didn't remember you. That's not necessarily a valuable connection to start with.
Yeah.
The connection start with not only you heard them tell you what they do, they could be helpful to you. You also share some insights, what you're doing, make them interested. And they also be able to learn something from you. They feel passion, they share your vision. That's when a meaningful conversation can start, eventually build up to a relationship.
Yeah.
I think one of the best networkers I know really, really dislikes it. She does not have fun when she's networking. She's like, no, like I came to meet two people. I met them both. I had exactly the conversation I wanted to have with them. And I got to leave early. That was really successful.
Yeah,
that's
great. Very efficient.
My downfall in it is I have so much fun doing it. And I'll hang just to hang because I'm having a great time after a while. I am also very intentional too. I do exactly this exercise. I always know when I'm walking into an event, what is my outcome?
Yeah.
Is it 3 sales? Okay, well, I know how to do the sales, so I can have those conversations. I can identify the right people. I can have those conversations. I can make sure that we got that done. Cool. Is it a strategic partnership? Okay, fine. It's that one person who works for that one company who I've pre-identified. I've talked to the host already. I know exactly who they are, where they're going to be. I make sure to have that conversation. I get that done. And then I go let myself have fun because I actually really enjoy it. And for me, that's how I recharge, because being around passionate founders is just the thing that I love. But not everybody's going to be that way. I think a lot of founders just go, oh, I'm an introvert, or I don't like networking, or parties make me uncomfortable, or I don't want to be around. I don't want to be at a drinking event. I want to be at a hike.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we don't always get to pick our venues for where we go to work.
Yeah.
You're just going to work.
I think what Ben mentioned really show you that it's case by case. There's not like you have to do this playbook in order to be successful. I'm an introvert. I hate networking, but I love to have one-on-one conversations. So I always prefer to go to a closed door discussion and dinners and having people one-on-one. But I love people refer people to me. When there's introduction coming in, log down to a certain minutes, really in-depth conversation, and gradually grow from there. So I think there's a different way for founder based on who you can authentic yourself. You don't also want to force yourself.
Yeah.
When you're very naturally connecting, sharing with people can sense their energy. That's the best way to start.
So one last question, then I want to ask you. The follow-up question is, what's next for both of you? But to kind of close up this conversation, you both said, it's important to really have targeted conversation, quality conversation. I don't like the person who, I call it eyes up here. They'll look at your name tag, and if it doesn't, if it's not interesting, they'll look right through you. Or they'll look at it and then their eyes will light up, because I've gone with the badge. It just says Brian Sparks. I've gone with the badge. It says Angel Investor, and there's a big difference. And so when you say quality conversations, let's really quickly define that, because I don't like people who look through others.
I think that's the difference. On one side, you want to be kind and polite to people. So I think if people just ignore you or look through you, probably that's not the kind of polite gesture. But on the other side, in terms of quality conversations, also be frank and authentic. Okay, chat with each other. I really like what you're doing. I also want to spend time talk with. I'm looking for a conversation with investor. Do you know any investor in this event? Just make it frank. I think sometimes the most valuable thing is really time span. In Silicon Valley, the good thing is people have common understanding that everyone's busy here.
Yeah.
I think I agree that being really clear about your objective. I'm here to have X conversation to meet X person. Are you that person? No. Okay. Maybe I still want to hang. And I still want to talk. And I have been surprised so many times when I have not left that conversation and I've just authentically connected with somebody. That person becomes the best connection I made that night, because it wasn't obvious about how they impacted my business, but damn it, they did.
Yeah.
There's a example that's happened to me at South by Southwest this year, where there was this interaction that I had no faith in. Like, this is not going to be valuable. Great person. I don't see it. 10, 15 minutes later, I'm like, I'm so happy I stayed. A, because they were a really cool person. I learned so much about them and built a longer relationship. And B, there was direct impact to the business, but it took not the first or the second or the third subject. It was just a longer conversation to get there, to figure out what those intersection points are. Because oftentimes, especially as your businesses get bigger and bigger, or your business has become more and more complicated, it's not always obvious what the intersections might be, and sometimes you just have to authentically connect to that person to get there.
I love that. And so we're winding down here. We get to the end of our conversation, which I could actually just keep going with both of you. Both are very fascinating in terms of your knowledge and your personability. But before we wrap up, I definitely want to ask you what's next for you and how can people connect with you? So Ben, I'll start with you.
Sure. For as far as what's next, I am urgently and eagerly building the largest platform for financial services in healthcare. What Mercury is doing and the tools we're providing to founders is really a game changer, helping science founders spend more time focused on the science and less time focused on their financial workflows. And then behind that, creating this massive ecosystem such that I can have a small, fast, simple conversation with a founder and immediately become a strategic partner by connecting them into the institutions we partner with or those network owners that I talk about, really just connecting in with them, getting them into our platform and helping them build their businesses. Like, that is so exciting to me. I wake up every single day jazzed about doing that. So I'm doing that right now and I'm excited to keep doing it.
Nice. And how can people connect with you?
LinkedIn's great. I'm the only Benjamin Kromnick on LinkedIn. So that makes life pretty easy.
Kromnick with a K.
Kromnick with a K.
Yeah. Lu, what's next for you?
Yeah, so as I mentioned at the beginning that we just launched our Fund 4, and it's lots of dry powder. So we're always looking for working with the best founder, especially focused on the sector we've been investing in the past 10 years. So any founder are thinking about raising money, or even you haven't think about raising money, but you want to build up connection with a VC that's passionate about what you're doing, feel free to reach out. And also, if you know a good founder, and you think they could be helpful, we could be helpful talking with them, and also always appreciate referral and also introduction. So we're very active in the market. We're really passionate about the existing technology trend and very eager to leverage our resources and capital to support a founder. So connect with us is very easy. First, we actually offer office hour. We just had one a couple of weeks ago. We called it Ask Us Everything. Don't think us as a way that you're pitching to investor. You can ask us stupid questions. It's okay. We won't count into the pitching evaluation. So we have the office hour that founder could directly sign up and meet with my team, come into our office. And we'll also have the partner doing the lecture based on our internal training material. For example, how to understand term sheet, how to structure your board, how to really understand dilution, be able to share knowledge with founders. So that's a very straightforward way to connect with us. If you want to connect with me specifically, of course, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll really email us at contact@fusionfund.com. And we love to build up connection with founder early.
Wow, I love that. I think you're the first VC or investor of any form who flat out said, we have money, call me.
We do, yes. I think it's a fresh fund. We just did an announcement 2 months ago. We did final close in January, so oversubscribed the fund within half a year. So it's a good timing.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Just for those listening, and so that there's a fit for people who reach out to you, give really quickly your thesis.
So enterprise AI, healthcare, and industrial automation. Business model has to be B2B. We don't touch consumer.
Okay, love it. Well, I want to thank you both for being here. You're both amazing. Love to have you back. Great conversations. I'm sure our audience will love hearing this. So
can I say badass on the radio?
You certainly can, Brian. Thank you so much. I want to thank everybody for listening. Once again, Ben, Lu, thank you for being here. Brian, great job. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we'll see you all next week. Stay safe.